And we are the Pump Fake Pod. We're back. We are back. We are back. And we're the three best friends. Absolutely fantastic feeling. Conference 28 of 31. Only 3 conferences left. And it's the Big 12 already, but not so Big 12. And we're here at Pump Fake Pod. I'm Michael _Huffer3. We got Trevor at Stooley Picks and Elliot Money at I am _money. Trevor, Elliot, how are we? How we feeling? Mute boys.
Oh, saying good. I'm just ready to get through these previews so we can get to the real good stuff of the season coming up here.
Yeah, the real good stuff of the season just upon us next week. But we are at the good previews. We've made it past we're not doing the Patriot League no more. We did the Big East last night, not doing Big 12, which I guess is an okay conference. But Big 10, 2-1 here in the Pump Fake Pod. And but we've enjoyed our expansion pack here with Expansion Elliot here. Elliot, it's worked out well, and we got our Big 12 guru in the booth. Now you're talking your conference. I'm sure you got some things to say. How you feeling about today?
Hey, man. I'm feeling good. I'm excited for the best conference in basketball. I don't know why we didn't end on it, but we can discuss that behind the scenes. But I'm ready to talk some ball. The Big 16. I like to use the new Big 12 logo. It looks good. Wish maybe it was still the normal Big 12 of old. I miss those days. Fuck Texas for ruining that with their Longhorn network, but it is what it is. I'm excited, and all the additions that we've brought in for the Big 12 have definitely helped the men's basketball programs for sure. So excited to dive in and get it going.
Hey, Toasty. Yes, diving in and getting it going. I just cashed Delaware. I am betting Missouri State. They're up 10 after getting a field goal. No baseball on, but the Blue Jays catch for us. That was fun. Now we're all just hanging out here for football, but basketball is upon us, like Trevor said.
I did get a pooper flag fade in tonight. I took San Antonio money line in points. So.
Oh yeah, the NBA. I did take a Kevin Durant somehow hit his number last night. That was very sketchy, but
took 2 overtimes.
Yeah, no kidding. But you know what? That's what happens. That's my only bet of NBA. I tailed a couple good folks that I know on Twitter. Joe Delera works at the Action Network, good friend of the program. So he's a great follow and knows all things NBA. He cashed Brandon Miller over points tonight. I had that in a parlay, so we'll see if that ends up hitting. So yeah, great people here giving their stuff for free, and that's what we do on the Pump Fake Pod, right, Trevor and Elliot? We chop up almost every game, at least maybe pass on some, but at least we'll breeze by it and at least go to it and mention it. So if you want to bet on Navy Bucknell or you want to bet on Duke, North Carolina, you're here in the right spot. And that's what makes the Pump Fake Pod fun. And next week, 2 weeks, we'll be going at it. November 2nd on Sunday, big mega show. We'll start a little earlier, get our picks in, but we got to watch the lines as some get dropped. We definitely won't have a few lines, but big day, Monday, November 3rd, 8 a.m., Queens Royals, Winthrop Eagles kickoff. I'm so excited, guys. We're almost here. But these previews, man, I know they're dragging, but we're learning a lot. We know all the players now. It feels good, and we do know a lot of these teams already off the hand. So should we get into it? I know Elliot's just sitting there like a kid on Christmas. He's like, or Christmas Eve. He's like, "Ooh, yeah." So he's ready to go. Look at him. He's got. I mean, are we even allowing shoulders in the Pump Fake Pod? I didn't know that was illegal, or I didn't know that was legal. Trevor wears a hoodie everywhere, and then I always rock either a t-shirt or hoodie as well too. But yeah,
it's cold down here, man.
Yeah, no shit, man. Yeah, cold up there too as well.
I'll do the classic high school girl where they do this and then put a couple of things in there like that. Is that what I should do?
I guess you might have to do that if you're in Tucson, because Arizona Wildcats pretty hot last season, 24-13. Like those Roman numerals there, 14-6, tied for third. 3 returning starters under Tommy Lloyd, 112-33. What a good regular season coach, but just unimpressive in March. And I feel like sometimes he doesn't win the big one, but he's a good coach. So no disrespect to Tommy Lloyd here. Um, they had that, Sean Miller, that guy's who's sweating all over their court. So they had to get all that up and mop that nonsense up. But, you lose Caleb Love, big piece, all-time moment against Iowa State last year. Wow, that was a great time on the Pump Fake Pod. You lose Carter Bryant, KJ Lewis as well too. And then for your projected starters here, looks like you got Jaden Bradley, Braden Burries as a freshman, a lot of freshmen, Koa Pete as well. And then you bring back Toby Aqua, senior, so center. So they always are going to have athletes. They're going to be good at home. They're going to be able to have a high octane offense as well too. I'm not too worried about them winning games in the regular season necessarily, but there's always just something about Arizona that, at least at the turn of the century, it just hasn't really hit like it has. But they get there, but just kind of gets you there versus getting over the hump. But Tommy Lloyd comes in, like we said, 112, 133, good recruiter. He's going to be able to find freshmen as well, on top of being able to retain talent and attract programs. So one of the better coaches in college basketball, I would say. But I think they need to be able to prove themselves in the Big 12 here. So I don't know what's going on, by the way. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know. Arizona's gonna be good, man. I mean, they got talent. They're always going to be at the top. They got the funding for basketball. They're moving things. I love Arizona and what they bring. They're going to have one of the better front courts, rebounding wise, and getting those second chance opportunities, which I think is just is massive. And I think they actually have a lot of more depth. It's not just going to be isolation ball like we saw heavy with Arizona last year. So being able to spread the floor, have more depth, I think Tommy Lloyd can get creative with this offense and propel them to still be in a top 5 finish in the Big 12 or just around there. I mean, they're ranked preseason, I'm pretty sure, top 25, and there easily could be 6 to 7 teams ranked in this conference.
Yeah, I agree with you. Arizona's going to be good. I mean, 3 returning starters, but you do Caleb Love, Trey Towson, and KJ Lewis, Henry Vassar, and some other guys. But you do bring in Bryce James, so that's pretty sick. Now we're going to get to see an overload of Arizona games on national primetime.
Who? I didn't mention him. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah, Bryce James, LeBron's kid.
No, I know he ain't gonna play.
No, but they will push. They will push those games to be on more, just in the chance that he plays. But yeah, I mean, they brought in a lot of talent. I mean, they brought in that kid from wherever, Lithuania, 7'2", 260.
They always love those guys. Yep.
Oh yeah. Tommy Lloyd, he always gets his international guys. He's got a couple of them this year, but he's got a huge rim presence down there, and then that front court, like Huff said, it's going to be really, really good. I don't know if Arizona is going to be improved any further from last year, because last year was still pretty solid. I know they kind of dropped the ball a little bit, but I kind of feel like this team's going to kind of sit around that same spot again this year. But this will be a team where, crazy, shit will happen. I know Caleb Love, RIP, Sweet Prince, but that half court shot, but somebody else to do it. Arizona always has wild games and figures out ways to get it done under Tommy Lloyd, like you said, in the regular season. So I think they'll have a similar spot last year, 3rd, 4th in this conference. I don't think they make a significant jump with what they brought in and compared to what they lost also. But the continuity of 3 returning starters is always a huge plus. So I'll say 3rd for Arizona this year again.
Yeah, a quick little trivia question for both of you. Arizona last minute to the Final Four in 2001 when they lost to Duke in the national championship. Can you name a player on that 2001 squad?
Jason Gardner, he went to Indianapolis. Gilbert Arenas, Channing Frye. What else do you need?
Let Well, Trev can get one. Golly. I'm looking for one more, maybe.
Trevor, you gotta just not hit the mute button anymore.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I'm
No,
look-
my brain doesn't work like Huff says. I can't pull
I'm looking for
names
one
out.
more in particular.
Uh,
He's all over the TV all the time.
he's
Played for the Nets.
Oh, Richard Jefferson.
There you go. Perfect. Yep.
I was gonna say Jason Kidd.
Yeah, Mike Bibby won with Lou Olson in the 90s, 98, I think. Was it
Yep.
98 or 97? 98?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's freaking little autistic memory there, but hey, I'll take it. I think 2001 was that Indy too?
I don't know.
No, 2000 was Indy. I had a basketball like that. That's how I know that. But yeah, that team was great. Jason Gardner never panned out in the NBA from Indianapolis. Kid was a freaking stud. Look up his highlight reels. They'll be 260p pixelated highlights, but maybe they've had some high definition upgrades. Jason Gardner, freaking stud. Anyway, Elliot, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just quick little trivia question. But yeah, so you had mentioned very good regular season coach, but then he seems to never get do any damage there in March when it really counts. You talk about the continuity. I think Mateus Krivas, he was there last year. He's that 7'2" Serbian kid. He was a projected first round draft pick last year. Had a stress fracture to his foot. And then dealt with that all season, so wasn't able to play. So now he's got 1 year within the system. I think a lot of people are just kind of forgetting about him because they brought in Koa Pete, who's a guy that won 4 state high school titles there at Arizona, 4 FIBA gold medals. So proven winner there. Fantastic get. And then, as always, you guys mentioned Tommy Lloyd brings in a significant amount of international players. Couple I'll mention, Dwayne Aristode. He's kind of from the Netherlands. Been playing on the Dutch national team, the senior national team at that, for a few years now. Got a 6'10" wingspan, kind of fits the mold there for Coach Lloyd. And then Ivan Karchinov, he's a kid, freshman. He actually played for Bayern Munich, top league there in Germany. Actually was signed for a contract from 24 to 27. Ended up saying, hey, I need to do something other than play in the top pro league there in Germany. So ended up coming and with a connections that Lloyd has overseas, joined Arizona this year in the offseason. So very high on a couple of those guys. And then Braden Burry, as you mentioned him, I think he's going to be a guard in the backcourt that is going to play significant minutes and be a high impact player for them as well. So yeah, I expect, they're not the real Wildcats, but I expect them to do damage again in the regular season, and hopefully Tommy Lloyd can prove himself when it comes down to March. However, it's a younger team this year. I know they got the senior guard and point guard and Jaden Bradley, but we'll see. We'll see what happens as they continue to grow throughout the season. But yeah, they're going to be good. Typical Tommy Lloyd team.
Yeah, typical team. Definitely a 14-6 on the Big 12. 2001, decent year for Arizona. You had the Diamondbacks, pretty good, probably, right? I'm looking up their roster. Oh, Lauren Woods, I forgot about him. Luke Walton as well. Jason Gardner, man, that team was fun. That team was fun. Channing Frye was not on that, by the way. 2005, I remember he was on that team with Salim Stoudemire. They went to that overtime game against Illinois. That was a fun game. Oh, Arizona State, the less Arizona. This team's rifling with STDs. If you ever visited Tempe, Arizona last season, 13-20, 4-16 in the Roman numeral 12, 15th in the conference. Not last with that record. 0 returning starters for Booby Hurley, 168 and 151, 10 years. Team was awful last year, man. Randomly had like that 3-game winning streak, like, oh, they're back, and then nothing. At times they were randomly good. They were super physical. You lose tons of players, 11 players last season. Jaden Quaintance to Kentucky, Jason Sonon to St. John's, like we talked about last night. Only scholarship returnee is Trevor Best. So this team is going to be lacking talent compared to other Big 12 teams, and I don't know if Bobby Hurley's doing the right thing. He does bring in a good, decent player from Georgia Southern, a couple NAIA guys as well, and a couple foreigners across the pond. So, um, and then a transfer from Oakland. But I don't know again if these guys are talented enough to play down low and physical with some of these other guys. But that's that kind of style of play that Arizona State likes. They like playing down low, kind of forcing you to play physical. Sometimes even presses a little bit as well. So Hurley, good coach, but I don't know if it's translating to the NAIL new era like we've talked about with some of these coaches. And this year is going to be just maybe one step up or just the same. It's going to be a tough time in basketball for Arizona State in the Big 12 this season.
Yeah. Let me pull up Arizona State. Where you at? Where you at? There you are. Yeah, no returning starters. Losing Quaintance and St. On actually were pretty brutal, especially Quaintance. But I mean, he looked disinterested at times there at Arizona State. He was already checked out, ready for the portal. But they brought in 4 senior transfers and 6 international players, so they got a lot of experience and flair on this team. But they got the Mo Odom kid, who was 4th in the nation in assists from Pepperdine. So he can distribute the ball. He doesn't turn it over. He's going to be what they needed actually last year from point guard. So that'll be nice for them. But they got some decent pieces along with experience. But I still just don't know how good this team will be. There's not really anything popping out on the screen to me, screaming that they can make a huge improvement. I think they got the talent and pieces potentially to win 5 or 6 games in the Big 12, but I don't see them really improving much from last year at all. Maybe they'll win an extra game or so, but I really don't believe in this Arizona State team as much as it looks, decent on paper.
Yeah, 2 straight losing seasons there for Bobby Hurley. I expect a third straight losing season here. I think they were significantly more talented last year, kind of top to bottom, and the people that he brought in, NAI level mid-major guys. I know, Marcus Adams is another one from CSUN, averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds. Another guy that probably will be able to contribute some, like you said, Mo Odom. Dante Holloman from Georgia Southern, 17 points a game. This is his 4th school in 4 years. Kind of been bouncing around, but I think some of these guys can produce. However, you're going to need a lot more than that to compete here in the Big 12, in the gauntlet of the Big 12. So the fact that I think part of the reason why they've had 2 straight losing seasons is because they've been in the Big 12. I mean, look at it. They were 9-4 in the non-conference, and then you get to the Big 12 and end up going 4-16 the rest of the way. So I see a 3rd straight losing season for Bobby Hurley. We'll see if he can maybe figure it out somehow, but the talent really isn't there. I don't think, in my opinion, to compete with the top 10 teams even in the Big 12. You'll see as we kind of progress throughout these other schools, the transfers that these other schools brought in are significantly better in my opinion. So I see another losing season here in the future for the Sun Devils, and they're going to be a football school from here on out for a while.
Bye-bye, Bobby Hurley. Baylor Bears, Waco, Texas last season, 20-15, 10-10, 0 returning starters, which is a good thing. Scott Drew, 466, 249, 22 years. Whoa. You lose a ton of players last year for the Bears, which I think was a good thing. I mean, tons of letdown. They weren't really good at home. They just, especially with the new gym, they lacked talent. They had talent. VJ Edgecombe just dropped 37 points tonight in his first debut game. So definitely had talent. They just kind of felt lacked not athleticism, but physicality, and they lacked kind of depth. I mean, they struggled depth and lacked towards the end of the game would just kind of flare out. They could only play one half, certainly. So a letdown season for Baylor, but you bring in a great player in Michael Rataj from Oregon State, Isaac Williams the 4th from Texas A&M. So the talent that you bring in, I think, is really going to translate and Scott Drew's going to get these guys working. So I'm really excited. I think this roster is revamped in a good way. But again, can it size up? Yes, I think it's not going to be so one-sided on offense, and it's going to be a lot of banging out down low. They got their big guy in Rataj, and then also have bringing in great guards from the transfer portal. So I love the talent, top to bottom. I think they're going to be able to play like 8 to 9 guys, 10 guys, even maybe not 10, but around there. Where come March, if you're not healthy, which Baylor struggled with, it's always going to be key. So I think the Bears are definitely going to be competing around that top 5 mark. Maybe not in the 5. You'll have to see at the end of the show, but definitely going to be in that range. Maybe just outside of it as well too. So I'm excited for Rataj at Baylor.
Yeah, added, no returning starters. They had some injuries last year that hurt them, but they brought in 8 transfers with more than 500 games combined, and then their recruiting class was 16th in the country. And they got a top 20 recruit, Tunde Yesafo, like 28.1 points per game in France or wherever he was at. So, I mean, they Drew obviously hit the portal and got players to replace who was left from last year. But last year's team was really young, a lot of freshmen. So, I mean, now they got experience and they have depth on this team. I think Baylor makes a nice bounce back here. Like I like the pieces they brought in that you were talking about, Huff. They got the guard play per usual. So now that they got the bigs to go down and bang down low, if they can make an impact, I think Baylor is going to be a scary team this year, personally.
Yeah, you guys hit it on the head. Last year they dealt with depth issues and injuries. So injuries stacked up. They were healthy maybe for half of a game, and that was probably the most healthy that they were. Otherwise, it really caused an issue for them. Baylor brings in the 16th best transfer class. And a big thing that I see, if anybody watched the World University Games this year, they traveled and were able to participate that in as a school. I think that'll really help them significantly with all these new pieces that they brought in. I'm high on Cameron Carr. He was a Tennessee guy, didn't play much last year due to injury. He averaged 18 points a game in the World University Games, dropped 26 in the championship game. And then Obi Agbin from Wyoming. He's another guy, was the Mountain West Newcomer of the Year last year, also Mountain West third team, shoots about 43, almost 44% from the 3, and he was the World University Games MVP. So I think he kind of got a 1-2 punch with Obi and Cameron there. And then you also, Trevor, you mentioned Tunde Yusufu. He was there at from California, St. Joseph's High, all-time leading scorer in California history. I think it was like over 3,600 points in high school. Ridiculous. So just a replacement guard. You think of Edgecombe, basically just another guy that's just going to fill that piece, fill that void, and just kind of a plug-and-play guy there. And a couple other guys I'll mention, Juslin Bodo from High Point. He's a guy down low, Big South Defensive Player of the Year 2 times last year and the year before. I think he's going to be a guy down low that can be physical here in the Big 12 and can be a good rim protector for them. And then Dan Skillings Jr., he comes from Cincinnati, intra-conference transfer, just a kind of a glue guy, kind of plays the 3 or the 4, able to kind of do whatever the coach wants him to do. You'll notice as we kind of go throughout this Big 12 these Big 12 schools, there's a lot of intra-conference transfers, which I found was a little weird, in my opinion. But yeah, so the other couple I'll mention, you mentioned Isaac Williams from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Huff, and then JJ White comes from Omaha. He was all Summit team last year. He's another guard, shot 44% from the 3. So they definitely brought in a lot more depth, both in the backcourt and the front court. I think Scott Drew learned his lesson of how the depth issues and the injuries caused him to kind of take a little bit of a fall from his typical success here in the Big 12. So yeah, I expect Baylor to kind of have a little bounce back year with all the pieces that they've brought in. And like I said, I expect big things for Cameron Carr and Obi Ogbin, just from what I've seen when I watched them this summer.
I love that new gym too. So even though the camera angle's
I fucking hate it.
not correct. Camera
That's why I
angle's
hate
Watching
not
the game
correct.
from the friggin' moon.
I fucking hate it.
Speaking of watching the games, could not watch this team last year. They were terrible. Cincinnati Bearcats out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Skyline Chili, La Rosa's Pizza, Kings Island, you name it. Last season, 19-16, 7-13, tied for 12th. Oof, weren't they ranked preseason? One run returning starter for Wes Miller, who just has been above the. He's like my employment, just above the equilibrium, just so he can get by. That's just kind of how it is, right? Status quo. He's kind of stays above that. I'm definitely better than Wes Miller at my job, but I will say this. You know what I mean. Just kind of stay there. Don't be too much, don't be too little. But Wes Miller, he just hasn't been able to get over the hump in Cincinnati. I know the record kind of shows maybe he's decent, but it also shows that he's pretty close to 500 consistently every year, or just above it, with only 20 wins within the 4 years. So, um, couple good years, but you do lose a lot of pieces, which I think is a good thing because you just had guys that couldn't shoot. So you bring in a couple dudes that could shoot. Jalen Haynes from George Mason, which is a big guy, and then Mustafa Thiam from UCF, which is huge. Fucking Kirk Creases, he'll quit. He'll be transferred to like another school mid-season. And then also you get Jalen Celestine as well too, from Baylor. So a little familiarity with the Big 12 is always nice. So some depth more for the Bearcats and Wes Miller. But it's tough for me to sit here and rank them all high preseason when I feel like we're doing this constantly, and it's a deja vu type scenario with Cincinnati every year. The move from the American to go into the Big 12, I feel like it's been an issue, but they're working on it. They definitely can be competitive. This isn't Nippert Stadium vibes in their home gym, that's for sure. But they need to be able to get some wins, get back to a Cincinnati early 2000s prominence. But I don't know, man. I think we're going to be higher on them, and definitely in the mix of the Big 12, at least in the top like 8, top 7, in that top half of the conference. But again, they just may let us down. I feel like we've done this so many times with Wes Miller and his kind of style of play. So if he can actually have a good team offensively this year, they're going to be much better, because I do trust Wes Miller's physicality on their teams and what he kind of brings defensively more so. So we'll see if that translate. And the talent that they bring in could bring a little more offensive intangibles that they're missing.
Yeah, that's for sure. You're going to get Wes Miller defense out of these guys, or they're not playing. There's no way, not under him. But one returning starter. You talked about it, Celestine Creasa and Sincere James and others came in. They're not deep, but they have some decent experience, and then a lot of this experience is interconference. So I guess you got a bit of familiarity there, but still. Wes Miller, they've had some good years, but the offense just is never there. So I'm just inclined to believe this is going to be, these guys show up to Cincinnati and the Monstars steal their offensive power, and they're just forced to play defense and win games 51-47. But I think Cincinnati will be better than last year. I don't think they're going to be tremendously improved from last year over to this year. So I'm not high on Cincinnati yet again.
Yeah, they bring back one returning starter. They should have 2 returning starters, but the unfortunate news with Jizzle James, all-name team from last year, being dismissed from the team in July, kind of dealing with some personal issues. So they bring back the one returning starter. Good thing about that is it's Day Thomas, point guard for them, averaged 10 points a game last year, shot 40% from the 3. So bringing back a seasoned point guard definitely helps for them. And then guy I'm really high on is Baba Miller. He is a guy that they brought in, and I think they're going to try to hope that he lives up to the expectations that he originally had there at Florida State. ended up transferring to FAU, and he's kind of found himself. Last year averaged 11.7 rebounds, shot 34% from the three. And then they also paired him up with Jordi Rodriguez. He's a guy that played on the Spanish team with Baba Miller, so I think there's going to be a good relationship with him. And Jordi Rodriguez, if you guys don't know, he can shoot the fucking ball. Shoots about 42% from the three, and that's in international ball. And so he can really shoot it at a high clip. So kind of watch out for him. And then another guy that I'm interested in seeing just how he fits within this system is Sincere Harris. Comes in from West Virginia. I think he's a guy that's going to be able to fit into the philosophy and the system of Wes Miller pretty well. I know I kind of harp on some of those intra-conference transfers, but losing the coach there at West Virginia, I think it's formidable for Harris to come on over and join Cincinnati. But as expected, like you guys have said, Wes Miller's kind of average. He hasn't made the NCAA tournament since being here at Cincinnati, so I don't think that's going to change this year. Maybe they take a small step up and finish, around 10th. I think anybody from the ninth and above possibly has a good shot of making the NCAA tournament if they have a good non-conference. So I see Cincinnati around 10th, maybe a little bit lower, depending on how they do. But yeah.
That was going to be my question. How many teams make this tournament? 8?
Yeah, 8.
7?
I think 7's seven's the floor, 9's the ceiling, I think. Maybe 10, depending on what the non-conference looks like. I haven't really dug into some teams.
But I don't know about 10.
Last year they led the NCAA in conference win percentage, and that includes beating each other up in the Big 12. So if they can get off to some hot start and their top 10 of the 16 can get off really well, I think that they can survive just based on the conference strength of schedule. But that would be like ultimate ceiling. I think realistically, 7 or 8.
I'll tell you who's not getting the NCAA tournament. The Colorado Buffaloes out of Boulder, Colorado, 14-21, 3-17 in the 16th. That's definitely a 16th record in conference play. One returning starter under Ted Boyle, who's a good coach. He's had good talent. Been around for quite some time, since even Spencer Dinwiddie was in Colorado. So shout out Ted Boyle. He's a good coach. One returning starter. You lose Tristan Da Silva, KJ Simpson, Cody Williams when they were transitioning, and it just was downhill last year. No talent, couldn't shoot, could barely win at home, could definitely not win it, or certainly couldn't win on the road. But you do bring in some decent pieces. They're focusing on size. They like that kind of Houston Rockets kind of ball like we saw last night. A lot of size, 6'10" guys, 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". So solid numbers, and I think they got a lot of young pieces as well. So yeah, I mean, listen, Colorado's could be in the step in the right direction, but again, maybe a coach that's kind of laggard into the season with the NIL and whatnot. So again, I just think talent-wise, they're lacking compared to some of these teams as well. So, yeah, I'm not too high on Colorado this year, and I think although they're the highest team elevation-wise, they'll be at one of the lower ends of the conference. But they'll take a step up from 16th, I think, which is always key, and get more than 3 wins, I believe, this year with the talent that they bring in.
Yeah, not much I like on this team. I mean, got in a bunch of portal players, but they got a decent amount of underclassmen too, so not a lot of experience or continuity on this team really. But I mean, they got bigger guys, and they're going to be more physical at the rim, which they got bodied with last year, rebounding and giving up points in the paint. So they addressed that issue, but given what they lost, those pieces, yeah, they just nothing on the roster really sparks my interest with this team at all. I think they may kind of just do the same thing and be horrible again this year. I'm not high on Colorado at all. If they improved a little bit and won 4 conference games, so be it. But I think at most they win 4 conference games again this year. I'm not high on Colorado yet again.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Coach Boyle, worst year as a head coach last year comes with losing those 3 NBA draft picks, like Huff had said the year before. And I just don't think I think he's kind of spiraling in this portal era. Um, they really only bring in 2 portal pieces that I think are worth a damn. Barrington Hargress from UC Riverside averaged 20 points a game last year, shot about 33% from the three. And then John Manny from Denver, modest 3 points, 1.5 rebounds a game. Other than that, you bring in one, two, three, four, five, six freshmen, all with a lot of size, albeit. But you bring in 6 freshmen and you only bring in 2 guys from the transfer portal. You return five returning guys from last year. With kind of your biggest returner there is Bengot Doc, which I was impressed with him. I think he'll
5
be.
times.
I think he'll be able to be pretty good for them. Elijah Malone's another guy. I was high on him last year. He was a guy, an NAIA All-American, NAIA Player of the Year. Definitely didn't translate to the Big 12 or the Division One at that. So, the whole roster is just not impressive. I think they're going to expect a big jump from Felix Casares. He's a guy that barely played last year, and then Andrew Crawford, guy to watch out for. He redshirted last year, but the fact that you have 5 returners, nobody averaged over 10 points a game that they're returning. You only brought in 2 guys from the portal, and then you bring in 6, 7 freshmen after that. Very unproven. I think they're going to really struggle here in one of those. Here in one of those, especially at the very beginning of the year. But I still think they're even if they figure it out a little bit, then they're going to hit the Big 12 gauntlet, and it's not going to be good for them. So I expect another very piss poor year for the Buffs.
Yeah, Buffaloes are cooked, I would have to say. But the beers are flowing. And we always let you read a slide, Elliot. We let you read one for the most part. And we're gonna just wait, shit. Never mind. Sorry. We're not doing that.
What about
Sorry.
what about BYU?
Oh fuck. I knew I fucking forgot one. Damn it. I'll fill the slide out. We'll get to them, all right? We'll get to the Mormons. We'll get to the Mormons in a bit.
I always love talking about soaking, so.
Yes, we'll get to them. I'll build a slide here in a bit. We got a lot of games to go through, so I knew I forgot one when I was rushing over. I knew it. I even dotted my I's and crossed my T's. But Houston, ooh, do I dare talk about the ending to last year with Houston? Tough
No.
end of the season. Really tough. Um, whew, man, just didn't feel like it was the right way to end the game, but. Great players. Never worried about Houston. You bring back Uzan, Emmanuel Sharp can get some redemption. Have a freshman in Isaiah Harwell as well too. So maybe he starts. Maybe he comes off the bench. We'll have to see. You have Tugler, Senek Jr. as well. So freshmen. So you got a lot of young guys coming off the bench. A couple sophomores, few freshmen, and then you have some experience as well. So we know what Kelvin Sampson's going to have. He's going to have good guard play. They're going to play street ball basically, and they're not going to let you score. We're definitely taking our first half unders, Trevor, for those low end teams. We only have like those first 30 days to do so, my friend, and that's what we will. So I'm excited to watch Houston. We know what we're going to get from them. They're always going to be competitive, I think, in the top half of this conference. And a 19-1 was so impressive last year. I really felt like that was their year, and they were oh so close. The run and gun offense defeated the smash mouth kind of play that Houston has, but I felt Houston was able to transition into that style of play if they wanted to, and that comes with just what Kelvin Sampson has brought to this program, but also the talent and physicality that they play with. So Houston, one of my favorite programs to watch, and has been all the way since the American and Sampson took over the helm of this program. So yeah, Cougars, not only a top 5 team or top 3 team in the Big 12. Probably for next week in our top 25 futures show, I may have this team for certain in my top 5 in the country.
Yeah, I can't really say anything more than that. Kelvin Sampson, Houston, lost Crier and what was the big man's name?
Juwan
Uh,
Roberts.
Juwan Roberts.
Roberts,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Oh, yes,
Um,
first basket. Juwan Roberts' first basket, baby. That was fun in the
no, that was
tournament.
Tugler. That was Tugler. That was
You
my
got Tugler,
one.
but Roberts hit a couple in the tournament. I just kept riding it, and then
Oh,
you got
nice.
Jerome Tugler, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So I think this is just gonna be another Houston wagon team all year. I mean, it doesn't matter who's in or out. As of late, Kelvin Sampson and this staff have always had these guys ready to roll. Uzan's going to be back. He's going to be absolutely just disgusting this year. I kind of wanted to play him for some national awards, but the Houston doesn't put up the flashy offensive numbers and shit. They just play really, really good basketball and suffocate you and make you work. And it works every year, and I don't see why it's going to change this year. I'm high in Houston too, so love Houston to just absolutely start smashing teams again this year, especially after how heartbreaking the end of the season was because the refs decided to ref it differently in the second half.
Mercy Miller, great call out by OG Ken Hatt. Thanks, my friend, tuning in. Elliot, what you know about Mercy Miller and what you know about the Cougars this year? I know that they're a little daunting to play in the Big 12. I would say as a
Oh
Big
yeah,
12
for
fan.
sure. For sure, they're definitely daunting. Me and the boys always plan. Last year we planned our. We always do one game where we have a boys' weekend, and we planned it for the Houston game because we knew we were going to get our ass kicked. So that meant we could just drink a lot more and not really have to watch the game. So we kind of planned that. I don't think they come to Manhattan this year, so unfortunately we can't do that. But in the world of the portal era, Kelvin Sampson's got it figured out. 9 returnees from last year, 3 starters, JoJo Tugler, Emmanuel Sharp, Milos Uzon. Great call out by Mercy Miller, by Ken Hatt. Mercy Miller, son of Master P, if nobody knew. He's the guy that was stuck on, 10th, 11th on or I'd say 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th on the bench last year, just because of all of the talent that he had ahead of him. So I think he's really going to take a step forward this year, both defensively, and he shot really like shit, to be honest. Last year, I think it was only just under 20% from the 3. I think he'll definitely step that up this year because he played in limited minutes, only played about 8 minutes a game. But the fact that Coach Sampson, 132 wins in his last 4 years there with the Cougars speaks volumes. Plenty of players, getting Uzon back was huge. I know he tested the NBA waters. JoJo Tugler could have went anywhere, gotten more money probably, but it just shows the respect that he has for Kelvin Sampson and what he's built that program. Same goes with Emmanuel Sharp. He was another guy that could have gotten money elsewhere that Kelvin Sampson said he decided to, instead of chasing the money, he decided to, return and chase wins rather. A couple guys that I'll mention, Ramon Walker Jr. He's a guy to watch out for this year. He's kind of a 3-and-D guy, was out last year due to a hand surgery. Chase McCarty, another guy expect to play significant minutes off the bench. He's a redshirt guy. And then Jacob McFarland, curious to see if he'll play this year. He had a compound fracture last year in his leg right in October, right before the start of the season. He's still recovering. I'm pretty high on him. I think he's very talented. However, I'm not quite sure if he'll be ready for this season. They might do another red shirt for him. But the freshman that they bring in, you mentioned Isaiah Harwell. I'll mention Chris Sinak Jr. He was the top center in the 25 class, the replacement for Juwan Roberts, highest rated recruit ever for Houston. 7'4" wingspan. Kelvin Sampson's really high on him. I think he's hopeful that he can maybe keep him more than a year. However, he's already a projected top 10 draft pick for next year. So we'll see how that kind of unfolds throughout the season. And then also they bring in Khalifa Sacco from Sam Houston State, another 6'10" guy that's going to be good depth piece for them down low. Just the fact that they play so physical. A lot of their bigs tend to get into foul trouble with how they really show and hedge on those ball screens. And so the fact that they were able to kind of get a couple other bigs down low that can add depth is very important for Kelvin Sampson's just defensive philosophy. So super high on the Cougars here. think it speaks volumes to the program that Samson's built. The fact that you've have so much returnees, and I'm very high on them as well. And again, with you guys both, can't wait to chase these first half unders.
All right, Iowa State out of Ames, Iowa last season, 25-10, Big 12, 13-7, finished fifth after starting out super hot this year. Yes. Three returning starters for Coach TJ Otzelberger, 95-45, 4 years for him, and that's a real fucking logo for Iowa State. But you do lose some pieces. You lose Curtis Jones, who was your biggest offensive producer, and then a couple role players. But you bring back Taman Lipsey, Nate Hesse, Milan Momskilovich, or whatever how you say it, and he is coming back from an injury this season, which is always nice. And then Joshua Jefferson as well, returning for Iowa State. So Otzelberger definitely understands how to work the transfer portal. He also knows how to find that right gel between the transfer portal and build chemistry through the offseason. I think he does a great job at that. So he kind of has like more of a regime. I feel like he's an old style coach in this NIL new analytics era, which is always warming to see in my heart as a true college basketball fan since the beginning of time in my life. I was watching college basketball in the womb. But anyway, 5 returning guys, and they all can produce. So I think Iowa State's going to be a underrated team in the top 25. I'm really high on them. I think they're always going to win in Hilton South, and it's definitely a great time to be an Iowa State fan. You have a great coach. He's bought into the program. He didn't flirt around. Even if he did flirt around with other places, he returned back to Iowa State. And I think it was just the right timing, not having to adjust, bringing some of these key pieces from last year to somewhere else. And it's also just a test to Iowa State and what their basketball program is becoming under Otzelberger. So I love the Cyclones this year. I think they're going to be just as competitive as they were last year. It was disappointing to see them kind of fall off. I think Mopsklovich's injury was deafening for their physicality part. And one thing to point out for Otzelberger, a heavy defensive style team where Iowa State kind of slows you down. This was their best offense, I'd have to say. I really enjoyed their offense last year, and that was kind of led by Lipsey and Curtis Jones, of course. But I love Taman Lipsey. I'm glad to see him back and maybe even take even more of a bigger step than he already did with a ton of usage last year. So love the Cyclones. Look out for them. They're going to be fine just at the top part of this conference, and also winning at home constantly. So.
Yeah, 3 returning starters. Otzelberger's back. Lipsey, Jefferson, and Momchilovich all returned, but 5 total guys coming back. So I mean, minor continuity, but still something there, given that 3 are on the starting lineup. And they got a nice mix of experience of freshmen. I mean, they brought in Mr. Basketball from Wisconsin, and then Bateman from Milwaukee, who averages almost 26 points a game. Otzelberger, just being the Wisconsin guy, can go recruit talent here and just take him away because Greg Gard puts up no fight. Iowa State's going to be good again. They reloaded. I know last year injuries really derailed their season. Had they been healthy, this team was an absolute wagon for basically the whole year prior. So I really like Iowa State, reloaded, ready to rock tomorrow or this season.
Yeah, this is one of the more underrated coaching turnarounds of a program that I think isn't talked about enough. Altenberger, when he took over 2020, 2021, Iowa State was 2-22. The next year, his first year, they won 22 games, and they haven't looked back since. They've been a frequent there in the top 25 ever since then. I'm high on Taman Lipsey. I like that, he plays both offense and defense. He's now as a veteran point guard for that team. He's going to make things go. Joshua Jefferson made just a smooth transition from St. Mary's to Iowa State in the Big 12. I think he's just going to take another step forward. And then Momchilovich, he dealt with that broken hand last year, came back at the end of the year, kind of started to get it back there towards the end of the tournament season, but he's healthy now, got a good off season. So I just expect him to take another step forward. And then Nate Heiss, he's the guy that kind of filled in for Momcilovic when he was gone. And I think that they're going to expect him to take a big jump too. He's another guy that shoots just over 40% clip from the three. When they bring in a couple guys that I'm pretty high on, they needed to replace I forget his last name and first name Dyshon, but the other forward that was played alongside Josh Jefferson. But they bring in Blake Buchanan from Virginia to kind of fill that piece. And then I'm also Dominique Nelson. He was the Utah Valley WAC Player of the Year last year. Kind of a stat stuffer, averaged 14.5 points, 5 rebounds. And then you also, I thought you might mention this guy, Eric Mulder from IPFW. He's another guy that I think is going to, play a significant role for Iowa State. Otzelberger kind of has a knack for finding these mid-major players that really fit his system. You look at Jefferson from last year, who kind of transitioned and played that role. I think that Nelson is going to be kind of that guy that takes that next step forward, but I would watch out for Eric Mulder as well. But yeah, ever since Otzelberger has gotten there, they've won. They're always one of my favorite teams to kind of bet on in the Big 12 conference tournament, just because they're about 3 hours away from Kansas City. It's in Kansas City, and the fans travel like crazy. And I think they're gonna stay among that top 25 all throughout the year, and again, gonna be one of those tournament teams that, as long as their offense isn't as terrible as it was a couple years ago when they played Pitt in that opening round, I think they might make some dents here in the NCAA tournament coming down the stretch.
Yeah, that's their Achilles heel for sure. Even before Otzelberger, back in the Gorgie Yang days, lost to UAB in the 3-14 spot. Kansas Jayhawks, Lawrence, Kansas. Is Lawrence nicer than Manhattan? Last season, 21-13, Big
No.
12, 11-9, 6 in the conference, 0 returning starters. Coach Bill Self, 609, 156 in 22 years. Disappointing year for Kansas last year. That's what happens when you have Hunter Dickinson in a locker room as well. I think Bill Self just had to gut the program. DeJuan Harris leaves. Zeke Mayo leaves. I felt like at guard play they just weren't great. AJ Storr as well. See ya. He stinks wherever he came from. Not really an impressive school, to be honest. But anywho, as we move on, I think that the pieces that they do bring in is solid. You bring Flory Bidunga as well from Kokomo, Indiana, just about 25 minutes north of me. He was an absolute beast in high school. A lot of Indiana guys called out for these young freshmen. Just so you know, maybe it's not just bias, but they got a good pipeline for college. So I think Kansas is looking to improve this year. They couldn't win at Allen Fieldhouse, which was unheard of. And Bill Self really needs to find some toughness in this team and the program itself to get back to what it was, to get the fans ready to go. It's not the best roster on paper. I think they're super young. But Bill Self has always had young guys. He's able to work his talent that he got. But it also experience has mattered late, especially in this NIL era. So the freshmen that they bring in a ton of depth with their freshmen. So maybe they can garner some more experience after their non-conference start. So we'll have to see if they can be able to shoot. That's where they lacked last year. And that's going to be able to take them back to the hurdle. So Rock Chalk Jayhawk KU just wasn't really fun to watch. And I think it's just because Eric Dickerson personally. So tons of errors, tons of just them shooting themselves in the foot and problems. So disappointing. I think anything's going to be a step up and to get back to what the Kansas name was. But yeah, I mean, it's Kansas. They got funding, they got resources, they care about basketball, they care about the program, and so does Bill Self. So complete gutting of the roster. This is kind of a wild card for me, but I think just who Kansas is, you have to rank them in your top 25, maybe on the lower end. But it will be a wild card with all the young guys that they have. But I think they'll be just fine under Self in 25 or 25, 26.
Yeah, Kansas. I mean, losing Store, Dickinson, and all those other guys probably for the best. I mean that game versus Houston that they managed to blow somehow at home was just summed up their season just good enough to contend, but they just could never close games out and win the close ones. Um, they barely over 500 in the Big 12 last year. For Bill Self, which is normally, pretty good for a lot of coaches, but for Bill Self, it was a pretty bad year. So no Harris, Zeke Mayo, Riley Griffin, KJ Adams, Dickinson, Store, Coit. All those guys are gone. They brought in a lot of experience and depth, though with multiple pieces at positions to rotate. So and just losing Dickinson and Store in general is always a plus for the team. Just to add an extra one in the power ranking for me, given those two aren't on the team here. So, um, how will they mesh? Are they going to get to figure it out quick early, or is it going to take some time? And then we have what looks to be like another year like last year happening, where they drop a couple of games early, but figured out late. So Kansas will be fine. I think they'll improve from last year. Last year was more just an outlier year for this team in Bill Self.
Yeah, classic addition by subtraction for Self here. Half of it was due to just graduating a lot of the guys that had been in the program for a while, and then half of it was all these transfer pieces that did not work out for him. I'll still bring up the fact I can't believe that they were able to they paid Hunter Dickinson the bag and let Ejiofor go to St. John's. I just can't wrap my mind around that. Also, can't wrap my mind around why last year my best friend's a KU fan, and me and him had several conversations last year of why the hell they were playing Hunter Dickinson over Flory Badunga last year. Badunga was a freshman. He was very raw, but he was a hell of a lot better, way more athletic than Dickinson. I know Dickinson's kind of a walking double-double, but the fact that they kind of chose to play him over Badunga was kind of weird to me. So with that being said, I expect Badunga to take a huge step forward this year. He's going to be their starting center for them. And then everybody just kind of remember the name Darren Peterson. I think everybody's talking about AJ Dybonsa from BYU, who we'll talk about later. But I think Darren Peterson is the best freshman in this class. I was upset when he signed with KU because we've got to play him 2 times a year. But he is a smooth, fluid 6'5" guard, can score at all 3 levels. He's gonna, I think he's got a potential chance to be first team All-American as a freshman. He's really freaking good. I've watched him several times, and he's a dog. And I think Self got him a good one there at the point guard position. Then they also bring in Melvin Council. He comes from St. Bonaventure. I think he's going to be a good shooting guard for them. However, I thought it was kind of weird that they brought him in and Trey White, a couple guys. Trey White's from Illinois. They don't shoot it at a very high clip, low 30s. So kind of interesting just because the fact that they had struggled so much from the 3. But then they bring in also Cole Rosario. He comes from Overtime Elite. You'll see a big connection. Just keep in mind, Overtime Elite signed an Adidas sponsorship about 2 years ago now, and so there's some pipeline with KU and Overtime Elite signing their top players because they've signed three or 4 players from Overtime Elite this year, all of whom are going to play significant minutes for them. So that's something to kind of watch out for. In the long term, just a lot of there's a good connection with Overtime Elite, Adidas, and KU. But a couple other guys I like off the bench who add some just experience. Jaden Dawson comes in from Loyola Chicago. He's a guard, averaged 14 points a game last year. I think he'll be able to stabilize and be a guy that Darren Peterson can kind of learn from. And then Elmarco Jackson, he's another guy that kind of lost in it. He's been in Bill Self's system for a few years now. He's a redshirt sophomore. I think he takes a significant step forward. And then Jamari McDowell, he was a guy that they thought maybe was going to redshirt last year, but due to some of the injuries and just some other pieces not being able to produce, he had to step up. And so I think he's going to be another guy off the bench. So I like, everything that Bill Self brought in. I like, just kind of especially Darren Peterson. It's going to kind of be, I expect him to average at or above 20 points a game. They're going to rely on him heavily to score. So it's going to be kind of the Darren Peterson show, and then some other other cast members. But I think they're in for a year of improvement. Unfortunately, with me being a K-State fan, but also just shout out Christian Braun signing that bag, 5-year, $125 million for the Denver Nuggets. Former Blue Valley Northwest product. So always fun seeing a small town kid from Kansas playing at KU and then working his way up and getting a big bag there in the NBA.
Right. Absolutely. Well, you always read one slide. Keep going.
Oh yeah.
All you, buddy.
My Kansas State Wildcats. Manhappiness, Kansas. Last season, unfortunate 16 and 17. Our transfer pieces were similar to Bill Self's. They did not come to fruition. We shouldn't have paid the bag on Coleman Hawkins, and Doug McDaniel experiment was not very good as well. Led to a 9-11 record there in the Big 12. Good for tied ninth. It says one returning starter. However, we don't have really a returning starter, so you can put that at 0. And Coach Jerome Tang in his fourth year here. Fantastic lightning in a bottle year in year one, getting to the Elite Eight, kind of inflates that record a little bit at 61 and 42. But yeah, year 4, we've kind of also revamped and brought in 10 transfers. Missed the last 2 NCAA tournaments. We've got a pretty high NIL revenue stream. We're one of the top in the country. So there's a lot of pressure on Coach Tang to sometime get it right, or he might be on the hot seat. I like Coach Tang as a coach, and I hope that this year is going to be a little bit different. I think we brought in some good pieces that are going to allow us to see some good success this year. PJ Haggerty, obviously coming from Memphis, averaged 21 a game. Abdi Bashir from Monmouth averaged 20 points a game. Nate Johnson from Akron, the MAC Player of the Year, averaged 14 points a game. Big Marcus Johnson from Bowling Green, another MAC, 16 points a game. Kamari McGriff, a guy from more of a defensive-minded guy that averaged 11 points a game, comes in from UNC Wilmington. And then a couple guys that I'm particularly high on, Andrej Kostic from Serbia. He was a guy that we signed here in about June. He's a first-round draft pick potential for next year already. He's on the draft boards. And Elias Rapik from Germany played in the second league there in the Bundesliga. He's a 6'8", kind of a transitional forward center kind of a guy that fits Jerome Tang's system and how he wants to play. And then our biggest addition that not a lot of people know about because he was signed very late in the offseason, into July, August, was Doran Buca from Italy, 7'2" guy. Tyreek Smith, unfortunately, he was another transfer that we had got from Penny in Memphis. He did not get cleared for his waiver, so we do not have him. But we brought in Doran Buca, Italy, 7'2", to kind of be a rim protector. So I like all the pieces that they bring, that they brought in. And then they have a couple guys that I'm excited to see how they spent an offseason there in Manhattan, developing. David Castillo, he's a guy from Oklahoma, point guard, was top 40 recruit there 2 years ago. I expect him to take another step forward. He was coached in high school by Clint Stewart. Not sure if any of you guys remember Clint Stewart there at K-State. And then Taj Manning, he's been in the system for 4 years. I think all of the years that Coach Tang has coached there. I think he might slot into a starting role this year. A guy that really has been kind of near the end of the bench, but is always a constant guy that is, every time he gets in, he plays hard, is gritty. I like the way he plays, and the fact that he might be starting shows me that maybe he's developed a little bit more and made some progress. And then the last guy I'll mention, best athlete in the nation, I think, Moby Ike Karukwa. He is a guy that came in from the JUCO ranks last year, has like a 45, 46-inch vertical, absolutely phenomenal athlete. Shown this summer when I was watching him in some of the summer practices when I was there in Manhattan, that he can shoot the ball a little bit, which was not shown last year, and plays tremendous defense, can honestly guard the 1 through the 5. He's a little undersized to guard a 5, but his athleticism makes up for it. So yeah, I'm super high on them. I think we're going to take a step forward. I see us as an NCAA tournament team, and I'm curious to see what you guys think.
Trevor, take it away. I'm finishing the BYU slide.
You're good. Yeah, Kansas State. Where you at? There. Yeah, one returning starter, but they brought in two new assistants also. Driscoll from North Florida.
That's a mistake, by the way. I don't think there really is a returning starter unless you count CJ Jones.
He's probably rotational and started a couple, but
right.
Regardless, I mean, you brought in 5 players who averaged double digits: Haggerty, Abdi, Bashir, Nate Johnson, Marcus Johnson, and Kamari McGriff, and then a lot of other older players too. Last year's roster kind of felt just like option B for everybody they wanted, they couldn't get, so they threw money at somebody else. But this feels like a roster that is put together with talent and experience and guys that can score, which was a huge struggle last year. So I think Kansas State takes a significant jump forward this year. I think this team's going to be really, really good. Even with Tyrone Tang at the helm on top of everything too. So I'm really high on Kansas State this year. I think they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, especially at home, I think they're going to be solid. It's a tough place to go into and play. So when we get into conference play, we home court matters, and I think they definitely bring it constantly for in the Big 12 play. And the pieces that you guys mentioned, I won't go into it as well, but top to bottom, they definitely have a better roster than they did last year. And to your point, Elliot, I think Coleman Hawkins was a silent locker room killer as well too, man. Doug McDaniel, not the best leader at point guard. So I think especially with Tang having a disciplined leader and Marquise Noel, so trying to revert that strategy all over again is tough. And they definitely just didn't have as much talent as they paid for. So yeah, this year they're going to be just fine. I think they definitely take a step up from last year. But feel like the wild card is open for like the 4 to 8 spot personally. 4 to 9 even. It's 5 to 9, 5 to 10. It's kind of tough, and I think it's going to separate by just 1 or 2 wins at most.
Yeah, Trevor brought up a great point. The addition of both Driscoll, pulling him as the associate head coach. I know Ulrich Maligi, he left us, who was the associate head coach last year, but getting Driscoll as the associate head coach and then getting Bill Peterson also on staff has made a tremendous impact on the program. So fantastic call out there by Trevor. I think that those 2 hires are just as important, if not maybe more important than some of the transfers that we brought in. And then a fun fact that I didn't even know about that I found out a couple days ago, but PJ Haggerty is actually the cousin or nephew. No, I think it's nephew of L. Roberson. If you guys remember L. Roberson from Kansas State, early 2000 to 2003 quarterback there when we played in the Fiesta Bowl against Maurice Claret and the Ohio State Buckeyes. So kind of a cool thing, a cool relation there that I had no idea about until a couple days ago when I had saw that.
What was that old coach's name? The gray hair? glasses? Your old coach. Coach the
Basketball
team.
or
Football.
football? Coach Snyder, Bill Snyder.
Bill Snyder. Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
think of his name. Yeah, legend. Great team. So, yeah. Uh, all right, Kansas State got experts here. Oklahoma State, the Cowboys out of Stillwater, Kansas, last season 17-18, 7-13 in the Big 12, tied for 12th under Steve Lutz's first year coming from Western Kentucky. So I think he got better. Definitely brings in some good pieces. I like their staff as well. Now that they get familiar with the Big 12, it's always important. And you finally bring in some shooters. You bring in Isaiah Coleman, who was the biggest producer for Seton Hall. Couple guys from overseas. You bring in Parsifala from Oregon State, 6'10", who can bring some size down low, and then Christian Coleman from UAB, 6'8", fifth year. So some experience added to your roster that I think is just massive. So I like Oklahoma State. I think they definitely are lacking in this NIL kind of era, but they definitely are going to be just around the margin that they did, or maybe a little better. I think they definitely get better talent-wise overall, but definitely not comparable as well. They need to get back to that Steve Lutz kind of running gun. They tried it last year, but still was in the transitioning kind of mode. And now that you're getting into your second year, you kind of can get your whole style of play going. But I noticed, Trevor, that they win a lot of size. Mecky Ragland, a lot of 4 freshmen that are recruited really tall. So definitely looking to beef up their front court, get some rebounds, and then get that up tempo offense kind of running for them, and get out into transition with their guards. So I think they're definitely this is a wild card team. Could see an improvement, but also could be just around the area that they finished last year. So I have this team as a wild card personally for the Pokes.
Yeah, I kind of really like this roster. I like Steve Lutz. He did pretty well last year, given what he had. One returning starter, but they brought in 5 transfers who averaged double digits, and then 3 of those averaged 5 rebounds also, or 5+ rebounds also. So they got guys that crash the glass, they can shoot, which is kind of an issue a little bit last year with this team too, struggling to score. So they brought in some great guards. They have the ability to score now. They got the 33rd ranked recruiting class. This team's upgraded. I mean, they scrimmaged Auburn last weekend, the weekend prior. They did beat them. Yes, I know it's a scrimmage, means nothing, but Anthony Roy looked good. He almost had 30 points. This team was humming offensively. The defense looked a little lacking, but I'm sure given exhibition for a game that doesn't matter, the effort's not going to be 100% there on that end of the floor. But Oklahoma State still look good, so I'm fairly high on them. I'm not going like crazy high, like they're going to be like 7th or anything, but I think they can jump up to 9 or 10 this year. I really like this Oklahoma State team. I think they will be a solid group.
Yeah, I'm high on them. I think if there was a future bet for teams to make the NCAA tournament, I would look and see what this price is, and I would play it all the way down to plus 100 because I'm very high on them. I think they actually are going to make the NCAA tournament. This is what I was talking about when you look at Colorado and they only brought in 2 guys. You look at Oklahoma State and you look at all these people that they bring in. Significant improvement. Robert Jennings, he's their only returning starter. He was actually out for that Auburn game. They actually were down 2 expected starters in that scrimmage. I know, don't read in too much about the scrimmage stuff, but the fact that they were down 2 starters and they were still able to produce like that and put up 90-some points against the Auburn team that had brought back, all their talent. Well, not all their talent, but, really good, talented roster there in the SEC, because nobody left, even though Bruce Pearl stepped down. But you bring in Anthony Roy from Green Bay. You bring in Isaiah Coleman from Seton Hall. Jalen Curry, another guy I'm really high on from UMass. He fits the Big 12 system. He's, was coached by Frank Martin, so he's going to know what to kind of expect there. You also bring in Christian Coleman from UAB, another guy, kind of a stretch 3-4. And then Victorious Miller from LSU. So all these guys, high major guys that Steve Lutz have brought in that obviously he thinks fits his kind of running gun system. You clearly saw that it was working, at least via the scrimmage, putting up 97 points. They do have the size, like you said. They focused on that as well. But they got a tremendous amount of backcourt pieces and depth there in the backcourt as well, in my opinion. So I'm very high on them. The only thing I will say is I hope that the fans really buy in. There at Gallagher Arena, it hasn't been the place that it used to be when I was in high school. It used to be a packed crowd. They were a passionate fan base. And it really hasn't been ever since they really have been struggling here as of late. So if Steve Lutz can kind of start off strong and show some promise, I think a lot of the fans will come back and pack that arena, especially with the fact that they've had a really struggling football season. So these fans are craving for some wins and just something to kind of feed and kind of sink their teeth into and create some energy. So I think that's exactly what Steve Lutz is going to do. And I think I see them as a tournament team, in my opinion.
Pump Fake Pod's high on Oklahoma State. TCU, the Horned Frogs out of Fort Worth, Texas. Last season, 16-16, 9-11 in the Big 12, tied for 9th with one returning starter for Jamie Dixon, 176 and 126 in his 9 years there. So his 10th year, and he was able to go into the portal and get some experience. You bring in Brock Harding from Iowa, Leotinis Levisilis from Oregon State, Tanner Toulson from Utah Valley, and then Vianney Saliakum from FIU, all guys that can score. And I think that's what Jamie Dixon was missing. So it's a tough conference. It's going to beat you up. It definitely has a lot of depth. And I think at point guard and shooting guard, they beefed up in the backcourt for sure, with tons of pieces there, able to score. So, under Jamie Dixon, you're going to get a well-disciplined team that's going to be highly physical, can definitely play on the perimeter on both sides of the ball and focus on the backcourt and that in and out kind of style of game. But much respect for Jamie Dixon. I think TCU is going to be maybe just around the same. I think just with the talent is somewhat of a step up from last year, but not comparable to others. So I think it'll be just around what they did. But I do like their backcourt, and I think if they can be better in the non-conference, they could have a better overall record than last year. So this is an NIT game for me, and cash my parlay. Missouri State just cash bang. NIT team for me for TCU, but much respect for Jamie Dixon.
Yeah. TCU, one returning starter. Like you said, Harding, Pierre, and then Lulovicius or whatever, all come in along with some other players. He got some experienced players also. TCU is, generally pretty decent under Jamie Dixon, and last year kind of felt like it was a blip in the radar. It was just a tough year, given all the turnover and stuff. So, given they got a decent amount of continuity, I mean, 5 guys coming back, and then you got an experienced unit of guys that have brought in to play. I think TCU can be all right. I think that if they can figure it out early, they're going to be good. But I think at some point they'll figure it out and just be a pretty decent team. So I think they're going to be higher than 9th this year in the Big 12, though.
Yeah, I think they'll stay around the same. I think the reason why they'll stay around the same, they might improve a little bit in terms of just like overall record. However, I see them kind of being in that 9th, 10th range because I think that Oklahoma State's gonna make that jump and that's gonna create some kind of pushback and make a few other teams kind of fall back. Not necessarily unexpectedly, but just because Oklahoma State's going to be a little bit better. But you guys mentioned all the transfers that they bring in. One that I'll highlight, Tanner Toolson from Utah Valley. I think he's a solid guard that'll be able to play for them. And then Micah Robinson, he's a kid, sophomore guard, was the fourth highest recruit there for Jamie Dixon at TCU. He only averaged about 5 points a game last year. I think he takes a significant step forward this year. You kind of struggle there. It takes that 1 year to kind of translate to the D1 level. So I feel like he'll be able to make a good jump forward. And another guy that I'm interested to see how it plays out, just because he was a former K-Stater, RJ Jones. He's got 6'2" guard, lefty, was a former 4-star recruit, played in 28 games for us as a true freshman, then transferred out, went to TCU and redshirted last year. So I would expect for him to play some minutes. But we'll see what kind of a role he has with all of the pieces that they kind of recruited at his position as well. But yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to get behind that disgusting sport court there at TCU.
It's
But
fucking sport court.
I, I don't know. I feel like like you said, it's going to be very competitive. 5 through 12. So it's like it'll be a game or two that's going to decide who are those last two teams in the NIT and who are those two last teams in the NCAA tournament based on a few games. So curious, if you are kind of focused on some things like that. Always look and see. The Big 12 does a little bit of the scheduling a little bit different. Since we have 16 teams, they play 12 teams, 6 on the road, 6 away, 6 on the road, 6 at home, one time, and then they only play 3 teams home and away. So always kind of pay attention because TCU may be unfortunate and get Houston twice, or Oklahoma State may be unfortunate and get Houston twice. So always a good thing to kind of look at the Big 12 schedule. I believe Big 12 play opens up on January 2nd this year. So if you're looking at futures, things like that, to like miss the tournament, make the tournament, or predicting things, always good to look at the Big 12 schedule and see who has those top dogs and who has to play them twice. Because you play Houston if you're TCU, Oklahoma State, any of those bottom half of the schools, you're probably losing twice. So.
Yeah, that's a good call out, and that's what we're gonna do here. We got to get the rosters down. That's the toughest part. And then we start looking at the schedules. Future show next Wednesday, SEC Monday, Big Ten Tuesday, next Wednesday. Future show, everyone. Pump Fake Pod. Texas Tech Raiders out of Lubbock, Texas, last season 28-9, 15-5 in the Big 12. One returning starter, and McCaslin's team was fun, man. This team kind of was under the radar at the beginning of the season and really came out of nowhere. And McCaslin's coaching tree has done pretty well also. So I like this Texas Tech team. Let's see. You do lose Elijah Hawkins, Chance McMillan. So those pieces are massive. Federico, Trevor. Unfortunately, um, Donovan Atwell, though, projected starter from UNC Greensboro. He was a solid piece for SoCon play. And then for McCaslin, looks like you got, Tyrese Martin or Tyrese Bryan. I think he's from Santa Clara. And then JT Toppin, you bring back, of course, who was the top producer. So I think this team's always going to be high when you have JT Toppin, man in the front court as well, alongside with Lawan Watts. So I like this Texas Tech team yet again. I think they're going to be higher than expected than they were last year going into the season, of course, just with how they finished. Ended up being a 3 seed in the conference for McCaslin. And they love playing that kind of smash mouth style as well, and a tough place to win also. So, but this year I think they have tons of talent that can transition on both sides of the floor more so than they have in years past. And I love these Red Raiders teams, not only to be at the top half of the Big 12, but that may be in my top 25 uh, uh, as well. So tune in next Wednesday for Top 25 Futures episode. Go Red Raiders. I think they're going to be very good, and JT Toppin, Player of the Year, potentially.
Yeah, I can't really agree any more with you than what you said. I mean, Texas Tech under McCaslin has been really good. McCaslin he came up from North Texas and it's clicked right away. This team's been a force. I know they had that loss on the road last year. I forget where they were at, but I think it was Darian Williams and McCaslin got tossed out in the first like 3 minutes of the game, and it was completely different. So, I mean that who knows if they would have lost or not, but still little blemish on that, and they still you want to throw that game out. They went 15-4. They were a really solid group. I like what they brought in. I like McCaslin. I like the returners. I like the returning players. I think Texas Tech is going to be good again this year. I don't know if they'll be second again, given that some of these Big 12 rosters are completely loaded and ready to roll this year. But I still think Texas Tech is going to be hanging around the 3, maybe 4 spot this year. I think they're going to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, Texas Tech, man, they're doing it right here in this NIL era. They're just giving bags out to everybody. Give out Najari Canaday $1 million for the starting pitcher there for their softball team. You freaking give your D line like $6 million combined, and then you give JT Toppin $4 million to return. So they just got buku amounts of money that they're just shelling out. So they're doing it right. Money always can't buy wins, but it can help you retain players that allowed you to get those wins. I'm high on Texas Tech as well, right there with you guys. Christian Anderson at point guard, he comes back. He was all freshman last year in the Big 12. And I think, he had to kind of, when Chance McMillan got hurt, he had to step into that role and start in that Elite Eight game. So he's got significant experience because of that. So he's going to be a solid piece for them. I'm really high on the guy that you had mentioned earlier, Huff, Lawan Watts, coming in from Washington State. Formerly, he was at Eastern Washington before. I think he's going to be, a significant guy that's going to take over that role of Darian Williams from last year. So it's a guy that they've kind of used to help replace him. And then you got Tyree Bryan comes in from Santa Clara. And then another guy, Donovan Atwill, comes in from UNC Greensboro. And also, that UNC Greensboro kind of philosophy kind of fits the style of Grant McCaslin there at Texas Tech. So I think he's made a great transition over from North Texas, smooth transition in his first 2 years. And I wouldn't expect anything different here in year 3. Maybe they struggle a little bit kind of out the gate, just trying to figure out these new pieces, these new transfer guys that they brought in, who's going to be the go-to scorer, kind of how everything's going to fit. I think they're going to be good defensively from the jump. However, maybe offensively, it might take them a few weeks to get rolling, but we'll see. We'll see how it translates. But I don't expect them to finish outside the top 4 here in the Big 12 for sure.
All right. Just turned off the Missouri State game. Turned on some highlights. Let's go. Not highlights of UCF, though. Orlando, Florida. Last season, 20-17, 7-13, 0 returning starters for Johnny Dawkins. I'm not too high on UCF. I think that this is a whole new rebrand, and they can be surprising at times. They're really good at home as well. So, they did get 20 wins last season, regardless if they played in the Crown. But I always respect Johnny Dawkins. I think he's a good coach. He can get any of these guys working, but really worried about the talent that they have completely. But I trust Dawkins to get some wins. I think it could be even a step back and staying in that lower half of the conference, and maybe even a total step back as they do this rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, given everybody they lost, 12 new players on the roster. They brought in some decent talent, but I mean, they won 20 games last year. They had a great team, and now you lose everybody. And you got to somehow improve. I mean, you won 20 plus last year, and you still finished 12th in the conference. So I think the UCF takes a little bit of a step back this year. Lost a lot of people. It's a lot of new continuity to gain, and you won that many games last year and still finished near the basement of the Big 12. So I think UCF takes a little step back this year. I think they'll be able to get it back, but this year I think is going to be a little bit of a rough one for Golden Knight fans.
Elliot, take us home. Thanks,
Yeah.
Trevor.
I went to the Bounce House last year to watch K-State play there in Orlando. Really cool arena. Wasn't as lit as I was expecting it to be, just from what I had heard, but super pretty campus. And it was a good time. Just unfortunate for those fans for this year. I think it's going to be a struggle. I know they, bring in Riley Kugel from Mississippi State. But other than that, there's not a lot of guys that jump off the page at me, per se. Maybe Devin Cambridge. He used to play at Texas Tech. He tore his ACL. He's going to be kind of a sixth-year guy. We'll see if he can kind of get it back from pre kind of ACL tear. I think that they might have some good guard play, and that'll kind of keep them competitive, especially at home. But I just think they're going to lack front court depth and just front court pieces, which are really kind of post problem here in the Big 12, where they may get bullied and out rebounded. Last year they had several big guys up at the front court that could get offensive rebounds, could protect the rim, and they just don't have that this year. That I've seen, and maybe they've got a few freshmen that'll surprise me. But Johnny Dawkins is a great coach. I just think it's going to be a challenge for him this year for sure.
All right, the Utah Utes out of Salt Lake City, Utah, last season 16-17, 8-12 in the Big 12. 0 returning starters for Alex Jensen, first-year coach, which we'll see with West Virginia next. Since we forgot BYU, we'll include them at the end. Make sure to check the timestamps. But Utah, super down year last year. Offensively could be okay, but just defensively couldn't stop a cold and couldn't cover a cold. I have no idea what I'm saying anymore. But anywho, they're going to run and gun. I think they're going to still continue that for Jensen. I think they're going to have to kind of be able to do that and for Utah to be successful in the Big 12 whatsoever. But this is a whole new rebuild. First-year coach in the Big 12. I don't think it can go that well because they don't have as much talent as some of these other first-year coaches have had in years past in the Big 12. So, Utah, they're gonna have shooters. They're gonna run. They're gonna try to run and gun. They do bring in Babacar Faye from Western Kentucky. And then James Okonkwo from Akron. So trying to beef up that front court, I think, is good. It's always important to get that outlet pass when you're trying to do that run and gun kind of tempo. So I'm curious for Jensen. I think he can get a couple wins, but it's going to be a rough year and go again for the Utah Utes in the Big 12.
Sorry, I couldn't find my mouse on my screen. I was heading. Yeah, Utah. I mean, you lost everybody. You got the new coach coming in. That's always just a brutal start the way it is. Now you're going to lose some of those key players a little bit, and they really weren't anything impressive last year either. I mean, finishing 11th, and then now I don't know. I just don't like this team. They don't really have the talent on this team. They didn't really do much in the portal, in my opinion. And then you got to deal with the whole coaching issue also, and the fact that Utah has been kind of trending downwards as of late too. So curious to see how Jensen handles this team for the first year, but I don't see much success coming for Utah this year, unfortunately. So I'm not going to have them near the top in my bracket or prediction at all.
Yeah, it's just funny, little brother trying to be like big brother, mimic big brother. BYU brings in a coach with NBA pedigree, has a successful first season. However, Utah doesn't have the bag of money that BYU has, so I don't think that this move to get Alex Jensen. I know he was a former alum of Utah there in 2000, so I guess you can kind of make that stretch reach of that's why they hired him. However, I personally think they're just trying to mimic and see what BYU did, so now they're just trying to follow suit and get a guy from the NBA and maybe try to be a little bit more competitive. I thought it was kind of ridiculous of them to fire their coach before the season was over. Pretty ridiculous in my opinion. However, obviously, they don't have the money that BYU has, so they're not going to be able to bring in the talent like BYU did last year. I don't see them having the same success in the first year that BYU did. They do bring in Ja'Kai Howard from Auburn. Maybe he's a guy that can play a role there on the wing. They bring in a couple other guys that you had mentioned, the Babacar Faye from Western Kentucky. They also bring in Don McHenry from Western Kentucky, guard that averaged 17 points a game. So, you're getting two guys from the mid-major Conference USA ranks and expecting them to produce and play a big factor and big role on a team that's going to compete in the Big 12. I don't necessarily see it happening. They also brought in Terrence Brown, a guy that averaged over 20 points a game for Fairleigh Dickinson. So while they did bring in some pieces there in the mid-major ranks, it is the mid-major ranks. They're taking a significant step up in competition, coming in and going against the Big 12. Another guy that I do see that maybe could be a possible piece for them is Elijah Moore. He comes over from Syracuse, 6'4" guard, kind of an aggressive shooter. So I feel like maybe he'll be able to, be a guy for them. He's been able to compete at that level. He kind of knows what to expect. And then, regaining Keanu Dawes from last year, a guy that averaged 8 points, 6.5 rebounds. I think that was a big get for him, just to keep some continuity there. But I'm right there with you guys. I don't see them as a tournament team. I see them struggling yet again in the Big 12. Definitely see them kind of in that 12 to 16 range.
All right, West Virginia, the Mountaineers out of Morgantown, West Virginia, 19-13, 10-10, tied for 7th. 0 returning starters under Coach Ross Hodge, friend of the program, Moneyline Mac, doing the college experience. Big fan of him. Big fan of West Virginia, and I think the hire is good for Ross Hodge, coming from North Texas, the 4th head coach in 4 years for West Virginia, and you bring in a ton of players that are going to be key defensively. That's how they're going to win. And then you also land Trayson Eaglestaff, who originally transferred to South Carolina, then goes to West Virginia. So now you have one of the better shooters. Honor Huff from Chattanooga, Chance Moore from St. Bonaventure. I really like. Amir Jenkins as well, Harlan Oboya from UNC Wilmington. So tons of players that I think talent-wise is going to be really good for a first-year coach, especially in one of these conferences. But Hodge knows how to be physical, and I think this is going to translate well into the conference to be around the middle. Maybe not as good as DeVries was first year, but I think that they can be flirtatious, and their style of play is going to be smash mouth, going to make you limit possessions and 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 be good defensively. So I think that could be key. They may just have to struggle down low with getting rebounds, but I think they'll be able to pick some stuff up with the backcourt and playing defense on the perimeter and limit threes. So can't wait to see West Virginia versus Houston this season. I think West Virginia will be just around the middle of that 6 to 10 range in the Big 12.
Yeah. You said no returning starters. Ross Hodge first year. I like him. He's a good coach. I think he's going to figure this out too. But I mean, not bad guys you brought in. I mean, our boy Trayson Eaglestaff, sharpshooter, sniper, for out in the perimeter. You got Chance Moore, Hunter Huff. He brought in some decent experienced players. So I like that part. I just don't know how deep this team really is. It feels kind of more like a top heavy lineup to where once those guys are out, it's going to be, a struggle for West Virginia. But I still think, like you said, they're going to limit possessions. They have a bunch of shooters. I think they can, be pretty decent for a first year. I know they went 7th last year with DeVries, but I think like a 9th, 10th spot for West Virginia is, not a bad spot given your first year in the Big 12. So I think that's their ceiling is, 9 or 10. But I do think West Virginia is going to be scrappy this year, and they're going to catch some teams just given off of how little possessions you get and how, the amount of decent shooters, pretty good shooters they have on this roster currently.
Yeah, you guys mentioned it. They brought in several pieces there in the backcourt. I just think that their struggles are going to be in the front court. I don't think that they brought in the necessary depth in the front court and just size and physicality in the front court that's going to be able to allow them to compete day in, day out here in the Big 12. I think it's going to be a learning year here for Ross Hodge. I think he's going to realize that next year, gonna get those pieces. I do like the fact that he brings in Jasper Floyd and Brendan Lorient from North Texas. So, it does say 0 returning starters. However, you got 2 guys that come in from his system. He also brings basically his entire North Texas staff. So definitely got some continuity on that end as well. And then kind of a fun thing, fun fact, I guess, the 7-footer they brought in from UNC Wilmington, Harlan Obioha, he's actually from Kansas, Hoxie, Kansas, town of about 1,000 people. So the fact that he comes from a town of 1,000 people and now he's playing Power 5 basketball, pretty cool success story for a small Kansas kid. A lot of people I know here at these smaller schools that have played against him and stuff really look up to him and just kind of see the impact that he's made on some small town Kansas kids like myself. So cool story. I just think he might struggle. I know he's 7 foot. He's a little slow, not slow. He's got good footwork. He played football in high school. But I just don't see him competing with some of these top tier talents here in the front court for West Virginia. So I think that's where kind of the letdown is for them. And I do agree they're going to get some upsets, but the Big 12 is definitely different than North Texas, Conference USA, American. So there's going to be some bumps in this first year, and a successful season would be Ross Hodge returning for a second season. Like you said, Huff, 4 coaches in 4 years. So I think the fans in Morgantown just want a little bit of continuity potentially. So I don't see them making the tournament. I think they're just going to be right outside of it, maybe miss it. However, I do expect Ross Hodge to do good things there at West Virginia.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think their front court's going to be an issue. For sure. I mentioned that as being a problem, but I don't know. I think they'll be fine. They'll pull a couple upsets. I'm with Ken Hatt in the chat, so thank you, man. All right, BYU, the one I missed. Screw the time stamps, but obviously AJ DeBonsta, I don't know how to say his fucking name, but he's got a lot of hype going in. So BYU, tons of hype. They're dumping money into the program, and they're always a good program, good home court, and they've translated well and transitioned well into the Big 12 from the Mountain West. So they're recruiting a ton of players, get 2 returning starters back. You have one of the best recruits in the country that was the most sought out. So the expectations are all over. You're going to be on national TV a lot. I'm super excited for this roster and to watch BYU play. I think as everyone else should be too. And they have a chance to be the number 1 team in this Big 12 conference to compete with some teams. I think obviously they just lack that physicality. They get beat up a lot of times from Houston and some of those other teams in the Big 12. But if they can shoot the ball, they're willing to beat everyone. And I think that's what they missed. And DeBonsta and a lot of the pieces that they bring in that some of you guys can mention add some depth, I think will be just fine for them physically come March and whatnot. So, yeah, I love BYU. How can you not? We'll be talking about them next week as well in our top 25 show, I think.
Yeah. Just had these notes here. Here they are. Yeah, 2 returning starters. I mean, but you do lose Igor Demine, Trevin Cannell, Mawat Mag, Fusini, Traore, Catchings, and then Dallin Hall. A lot of pieces to lose. But they did bring in Robert Wright, Kenner Davis, AJ Edevansa, and then Dawson Baker, who was a really good player at UC Irvine last year. They got a lot of experience and talent is in place with this roster. You have 4 guys coming back, so they'll probably take a little step forward. But this team's got a lot of talent. It didn't end great last year, but Kevin Young, knows the style he wants to play, knows what kind of players he needs, and he goes and gets them. I like this team. I think BYU is going to be right there again in the Big 12. I don't see them having a significant fall off, not this season, but you gotta think Edevansa and some of these BYU players feel the pressure given. My mind just went blank. I forgot what I was going to say. If I remember, I'll say it. But yeah, I like BYU this year.
Hate when that happens. Elliot, round us off for the final Big 12 team before we do predictions.
Yeah, so BYU, 26 wins last year for Kevin Young in his first year. That was the most in program history for a first-year head coach. So a lot of high expectations coming in to this season, just with the success that they had last year. Not to mention that they bring in the 4th-ranked recruiting class, 15th-ranked transfer class. So just even further elevates those high expectations. And you guys talked a lot about the transfers. I'm going to talk about 2 guys that I think are going to be big pieces who are going to allow this team to have the success. And that's Richie Saunders. He was a guard last year, averaged 60.5 points a game, shot 43% from the 3. His grandpa invented the tater tot. So shout out to Richie Saunders' grandpa. And then Kiba Kita, he came in from Utah, transferred over, and played last year for them, was a big man down low, averaged 7.5 points, 8 rebounds, and shot 67% from the field. So those 2 guys are some returners that I think are going to be key in the success for BYU this season. Amongst those transfers that you had mentioned, the one transfer that I will mention was Kenner Davis, comes in from Southern Illinois, averaged 16 points, was second team all MVC last year. And then all those other guys that you had mentioned, you kind of see what Kevin Young was thinking. He basically was like, hey, we're going to surround AJ Debonsa with a bunch of shooters. So you bring in guys that shoot. I think almost all of their transfers that they brought in from the mid-major and high major ranks shot at least 37.5 to 38% or higher. So you definitely can tell, what he's trying to do is just surround Debonsa with some shooters, and then have Richie Saunders kind of as that secondary playmaker to play alongside him. And then lastly, freshman Xavier Staten. He's a guy that played with Debonsa at Utah Prep, so I expect a little bit of continuity there. Not quite sure how much he'll play, but I do think that that'll help Debonsa if he's on the court, just a familiar guy that he has played with before. So I'm high on BYU, obviously. They have the talent. Kevin Young kind of proved that he was a good coach last year. So we'll see if he can continue that and maybe doesn't hit this sophomore slump as some coaches do. And, now the target's on their back. They have a little bit higher expectations. So can they live up to those? That's going to be the question for this Cougars team.
That it is, and that is the Big 12, everyone. My TV keeps fucking going out, but I guess there's not really any sports on, and it's 1 a.m. and we just talked 16 teams of the Big 12, everyone. And you know what's next. We've ranked them. We've ranked every conference. This is our 28th rank. Tomorrow will be our 29th with the ACC episode. 30th Monday, SEC, 31st Big 10. So, Elliot, this is your conference. So you start us off with your 16th.
No, I'll go last. My conference, I'll go last.
Oh, okay. He wants to go last. Yes, definitely get the pick. Trevor and I are going to have to do a little rock, paper, scissors, sharpening a little pencil here. That's nostalgic. I've been into the mood for that. Been writing my notes with pencil just so you guys can't find my algorithm down later in life or use it like Da Vinci notes. Trevor, you go first on the 16th for Big 12. I went first last time. Make sure to write them down.
Oop, yep, I got them written here. Utah.
All right. 16 for me is going to be Arizona State.
UCF for me.
Trevor.
I have Colorado.
15th for me is Colorado as well.
Arizona State, 15.
Trevor.
Oh, my 14 is Cincinnati.
Ooh, I like it. My 14th is UCF.
14th for me is Colorado.
And some of these guys could be tied eventually. You never know. There was a 3-way tie for 11th, 12th, or 3-way tie for 12th last season. So very interesting. Trevor, you're 13th.
Arizona State.
All right, so we got our cellar dwellers pretty much figured out. It looks like for the most part. 13th for me is going to be Utah.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I got Utah here.
All right, 12 is UCF.
All right, yeah, respect to Johnny Dawkins. I like it. 12th for me is going to be shit. I'm gonna go TCU.
12 Cincinnati for me.
11 West Virginia.
11th for me is going to be Cincinnati.
11 for me is going to be TCU.
All right, my 9 is my 10 is TCU.
10 is TCU. Okay. 10 for me is going to be Kansas State.
10 for me, West Virginia.
9 for me, Oklahoma State.
9th for me, West Virginia. Sorry.
9 for me, Baylor. No. 9 for me. Yeah, 9 for me. Where to go? Oklahoma State.
8 for me, Kansas.
And I'm gonna flip Kansas State and West Virginia. I'm gonna take Kansas State 9th, West Virginia 10th, actually, under Ross Hodge. So I think Oklahoma State takes the jump, but I think all those 3 teams could be tied. So, Trevor, did you give your 7th? Sorry, I was focused on my mistake that I made.
7's Kansas State.
We haven't given an 8 yet. I haven't given an 8 yet.
Oh yeah, I haven't given an 8. My 8th is Oklahoma State. Sorry.
Gotcha. 8 for me is Baylor.
7 for me is Kansas State.
7th for me is Baylor.
7 Arizona.
6 Baylor.
This is where it gets tough. 6 Arizona for me too.
Um, 6. I'm gonna go.
Here comes Kansas State.
6. I'm gonna go. Let's see. I'm gonna go Kansas.
5 for me is Arizona.
5 for me is gonna be. Can't believe I'm gonna forsake it, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go 5th Kansas. I think that they're better than last year, but not by much.
5 for me is Iowa State.
4 for me, Texas Tech.
4 for me is Texas Tech as well.
4 for me, Kansas State.
3 is BYU.
Third for me is BYU as well.
Third for me is going to be BYU as well.
2 is
All
Iowa
right.
State. 2 is Iowa State, 1 Houston.
Same for me. 2 Iowa State, 1 Houston, Trevor. So we had similar opinions on the Big 12. These Big 10 guys. So Big 12 expert, round us out, and then we'll go for our top 16 each.
2 Texas Tech, 1 Houston.
All right. So there we have it. Big 12 predictions. I'll go ahead with my top 16. That top to bottom. That's Houston, Iowa State, BYU, Texas Tech, Kansas, Arizona, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, West Virginia, Cincinnati 11th, TCU 12, Utah, UCF, Colorado, and Arizona State at the bottom. In hell, devil.
Yeah, mine are Houston, Iowa State, BYU, Texas Tech, Arizona, Baylor, Kansas State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, TCU, West Virginia, UCF, Arizona State, Cincinnati, Colorado, Utah.
Yeah, I got 1 Houston, 2 Texas Tech, 3 BYU, 4 Kansas State, 5 Iowa State, 6 Kansas, 7 Arizona, 8 Baylor, 9 Oklahoma State, 10 West Virginia, 11 TCU, 12 Cincinnati, 13 Utah, 14 Colorado, 15 Arizona State, and 16 UCF.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. This is the Big 12 prediction episode preview. We will see you tomorrow for the ACC prediction episode, the Not So Atlantic Coast. This is the Pump Fake Pod. Thanks everyone in the chat. Ken Hatt, we appreciate you. Raymond, or Redman. Thanks everyone for tuning in. You guys are the realest. It was a fun episode, and looking forward to the Big 12. Now that I go through it, I think we get a nine bid potential league out of the Big 12 with Kansas State, in my opinion, at 9th. So that's why I switched them with West Virginia to make sure that they get in the NCAA tournament. So it could be 8 to 9 9 bid league here. So any final thoughts, Elliot and Trevor, here before we get out of here?
Nope. Said my piece.
Peace and as well. Peace and love. Thanks everyone. This is the Pump Fake Pod. Make sure to like and subscribe. Sunday, November 2nd, we'll be doing our mega betting show. So make sure to tune into that. And next week we'll be doing a future show, launching a new segment potentially for the Pump Fake Pod. So stay tuned. This is the Pump Fake Pod, like I mentioned. Take care, everyone.
Toodles.